Okay, today we're going to do some rodent restraint demonstrations. You do have to restrain a rat as well as a rabbit, which I know not technically a rodent, as part of your exam. So we're going to do some of that today. So we have here our first model, this giant rat. We're going to just basically restrain for any type of exam or maybe medication administration, that kind of thing. So generally with most of our small little rodents, just kind of scooping them up and, kind of cuddling them is fine. But when it gets go time that we need to kind of hold them still for things, you can just kind of come over their back and just hold kind of behind the shoulders here, behind the neck, so they can't turn around and get you. And you can kind of use kind of back end restraint just over the hips here, sort of like you would with a cat, and kind of just hold him still for the doctor to do their exam. You can hold like this to give PO medication, so you could just go ahead and give him a syringe full of medication, or you could hold him like this for somebody else to come in and give a sub-Q or an IM injection. So this is really just kind of basic rat restraint. Now this guy, of course, is quite large and in charge, and most of your pets are not going to be this size. But just for general demonstrations, kind of over the neck, behind the mandible, I guess, if you want to think of it like a dog or cat, we kind of do that same hold, and then just kind of holding them still. Okay. Now we do have this other little Bubba who's super cute, who's maybe a little bit more realistic, a little bit in size as far as the body goes. So same kind of thing. If he's just like hanging out in his cage, you can kind of just scoop him up, hold him too close to you, and then get him into a restraint position. Same kind of thing. I generally will just cuddle them in my hand like this, 2 fingers around the neck, holding his head nice and steady so he cannot bite anybody. And then holding his body, just kind of, I don't want to hold tightly around his little body, but I'm holding where his back legs are so that he can't curl up and try to kick and get away. So same kind of thing, the doctor can do their examination. You can give some PO meds, give a sub-Q injection just right in the side of the skin there, or maybe an IM injection in the back end. But really basic rat handling for what we will be doing in lab. Okay. And then we have our bunnies. So bunnies can be a little bit tricky to work with, and it kind of just depends on how much handling they've had before. For the most part, bunnies that have been handled really aren't going to be too jumpy when you do go to maybe collect them out of their little area. But the big thing with bunnies, you probably have read, you do not want to let them really have the ability to kick away from you or away from whatever surface you're working on, because they can actually cause themselves to break their own back. Posterior paralysis is what it's called, by kicking too hard, by jumping too hard. So when we talk about bunnies and kind of getting them out of their cages, my go-to is to get them to my chest as quickly as I can. So that might be, scooping them up kind of, out of their cage and bringing them right to me. Your textbook talks about holding them kind of like a football, kind of in the crook of your elbow here. And that's great because, again, their back legs are controlled. They can kick on you, but if they can't kick off, they're not going to get away. So footballing is great. I like holding just kind of like a cat. So I've got my finger in the middle of the 2 legs, and then I might hold the back legs in the same fashion and maybe walk him to the exam table like this. Okay. Now for an exam, it really is, again, how jumpy they're going to be. If they're really nervous, you can definitely towel them just like the cat. Make a little bunny burrito so that, again, they can't really get their legs free. And or they can be really docile and totally chill and just sit on the table like this. If this is the case, what I would do is have a hand kind of over the shoulders and a hand over the back end. So he's like sitting on the table. Again, he can't jump with his back end. And I'm kind of holding his head, not like rabbits are vicious and gonna bite, but you do want to kind of just hold their head so that, again, the doctor can do an exam, come in and give some PO meds, give a sub-Q, what have you. Okay. So again, with the bunnies, kind of a football hold is good. holding their back legs either in your hands or in your elbow, holding the front arms like this. It's kind of my go-to for our little rabbit friends, okay? And then we have just a special extra. You guys are not required to restrain guinea pigs, but because they are my favorite little animal, we'll just kind of talk about them for a second. So they're known as the furry potato, right? And of course, this little model kind of demonstrates that for us. Guinea pigs are usually super chill. For the most part, they're not too wiggly when you get them out. Same kind of thing, if they're in their enclosure, you can kind of just put your hands up under and scoop them out. Same thing, bring them up close to my chest and kind of cuddle them. It makes them feel a little bit more secure, that they're not going to be dropped. But then also it gives me a chance to kind of get my hands around where I need them to be. Same kind of thing with guinea pig exam and restraint. For the most part, they're going to lay on the table like a fuzzy potato, right? So you can just apply a little bit of restraint over the shoulders and neck area, and maybe a little restraint over the pelvis too. Okay. Guinea pig says bye.